Welcome to US-based news channel. Ukrainian armed forces increased the intensity of their operations in the key area on the Eastern Front. More than 40 Russian soldiers were neutralized as a result of close combat. Russian army is not given a chance to advance in critical areas. Military movements between Russia and Belarus increased tensions between countries. Remarkable moves were made at the border. Military shipment flows between the two countries have begun to increase. Again, Russian military equipment was delivered to the territory of Belarus. Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal made a shocking statement. Minefield on the territory of Ukraine drew attention. New aid packages are coming from Ukraine's biggest supporter. This time the United States has sent thousands of missiles for Ukraine that can be used with HIMARS missile systems. War began to bring the losses to an irreparable level on the Russian side. As the severity of the operations increased day by day, the moves made became even more important. Especially the latest situations on certain fronts are getting more and more interesting. Intense clashes that have taken place in the Donbass in recent days also reveal the great differences between the two armies. Ukrainian army has carried out accurate attacks with various missile systems, especially on the Donetsk front. These attacks were the most severe attacks of the last 8 years, and the Russian army suffered heavy losses. Moreover, the violence of the operations never stops in Bakhmut, one of the most critical regions on this front. As it is known, mutual attacks have been carried out in this region for about 10 months, and the Russian soldiers continue their insistence in the region despite the heaviest losses. It was even thought that the Russian army was pushing its luck in this region due to pressure. Because despite heavy losses, attempts to attack by Russian soldiers were started in the region again. However, the State Border Guard Service of Ukraine gave good news. It was announced that the Ukrainian border guards carried out a counterattack and improved their tactical position around Bakhmut. As a result of the close clashes that took place here, it was announced that 18 Russian forces were neutralized and 24 were injured. These results revealed the differences between the two armies. Russian soldiers failed in close combat like many other moves in ground operations. Inadequacy of Russia in ground operations is that, as it is known, most of its soldiers are newly mobilized and untrained soldiers. To remind you, this happened both when the Ukrainian army hit the critical areas where experienced Russian soldiers were deployed, and when Russia lost these experienced soldiers during the war due to strategic mistakes. In other words, we can say that such events pushed Russia to mobilize. However, this step, which he saw as a solution, caused Russia to take the heaviest losses. Moreover, if such a step is taken in the future, such big problems will be faced again, and it will be much more difficult to compensate for the losses. Aware of this, Russia is trying to attract other countries to its side. But he also knows that if he involves a country in the war, it will expand the scope of the war. For this, he got closer with Belarus, which already supports him, and started various military preparations. Cooperation between Russia and Belarus has been going on for a while. While Russia continues to carry military forces and military equipment to Belarus, joint exercise plans between the two countries continue. According to information from Belarus, the dates of the exercises have been announced. Ministry of Defense of Belarus announced that Russia and Belarus will hold a joint tactical flight exercise between January 16 and February 1. In addition, it was announced that an aviation component belonging to the aerospace forces of the Russian Federation Armed Forces arrived in Belarus on January 8. According to the shared information, it was stated that all airports and training areas will be included in the task during the joint tactical airborne exercises of the Air Force and the Air Defense Forces of the Belarusian Armed Forces. At the same time, it was reported that Russian helicopters were transferred to Belarus en masse. It was announced that Russian military helicopters, which were transferred in bulk, arrived at the Machalishkai military airport. These are estimated to be at least 9 Mi-8s and Mi-24s. The transfer of these Russian aerospace army and combat helicopters is thought to be related to the planned military exercise. No official statement has been made about this yet. But 3 Kinzhal missile carriers are known to have arrived in Belarus before, along with an early warning and control aircraft. Ukraine, on the other hand, is concerned that Russian forces may launch a new offensive using Belarusian territory. Although Belarus does not consider it involved in the war, it allows Russian forces to use Belarusian territory to attack Ukrainian territory. This increases the tension between the countries and compels Ukraine to take various measures at the border. In fact, it is known that many other NATO countries have deployed their military resources and increased measures on the borders of these countries. In the event of a possible risky move, the scope of the battle may expand. On the other hand, Ukrainian Prime Minister Denys Shmyhal made surprising statements. Shmyhal reported that Russia has created the world's largest minefield in Ukraine. He announced that there is now a 250,000 square kilometer minefield on Ukrainian territory. Shmyhal also stated that because of this, disruptions have occurred in his country. Prime Minister of Ukraine addressed Western countries, emphasizing the importance of continuing sanctions against Russia and providing assistance to Ukraine. He stated that they did their best to end the war quickly and that the sanctions against Russia should continue and be increased in this direction. Shmyhal also explained that it is not known when the war will end, but he is confident that all lands will be reclaimed. In his statement, the Prime Minister also announced that Ukraine has regained 54% of the territory that Russia has taken control of since the beginning of the war, and that they will continue to do so this winter or some other time. In the future, all of the regions will be able to be taken back with the help of the countries. Moreover, Western support for Ukraine continues in order to ensure this. It was easier for Ukraine to acquire military equipment in response to the attacks of the Russian troops. Ukraine has been buying new weapons lately. According to recent reports, it has been announced that the United States has delivered missiles to Ukraine for HIMARS MLRS. This delivery is an important development for the defense of Ukraine. After the United States supplied HIMARS to Ukraine, Russia accused it of being involved in the war many times. Because HIMARS systems have achieved great success in the defense of Ukraine. Since the HIMARS missile systems entered the war, Ukraine has done much more damage to Russian troops and has been much better defended in battle. Since these missile systems on the territory of Ukraine are thought to pose a threat to the Russian Federation, Russia is very uncomfortable with this issue. Moreover, according to the reports by Ukraine, the number of missiles is quite high. It is known that the United States has given 2,500 missiles for HIMARS MLRS used by Ukraine. It is estimated that this large supply of ammunition was made in response to the possibility of the United States attacking Ukraine from Russia's Belarusian territory. Ukraine must be prepared in case Russia launches an attack from Belarusian territory. United States support for Ukraine is critical. This latest missile delivery will also lead to a significant improvement in Ukraine's defense. From now on, it will become much more difficult for the Russian army to attack and achieve success on the fronts. This will ensure that the war progresses in a positive way for Ukraine. Now, all kinds of steps taken on the fronts and all the decisions made by the commanders and leaders are of much more critical importance. Therefore, all these moves must be carried out in line with a purely strategic goal. Otherwise, it has become much more difficult to compensate for the losses. This greatly affects the course of the war. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.